When you talk about the Cybercrime Act, what are you talking about? The act is supposed, is enacted to ensure the prevention, detection, prosecution, and punishment of cybercrimes in Nigeria. It is enacted to ensure the protection of critical national information infrastructure, promote cybersecurity, and protect computer systems and networks, protect data, and the intellectual property rights of internet users.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Tech Point Africa podcast. Today we'll be discussing Nigerian businesses being mandated to pay 0.5% tax called the cybersecurity levy, and also the Corporate Affairs Commission's directive for POS businesses to be registered or incorporated before July 7th. We'll also give you an update on Patricia's case. Was it a mismanagement or the outcome of an irreversible act? So, my name is Oluwanifemi Kolawole, and I'm your host on today's episode of Tech Point Africa podcast. With me in the studio is
Chimgo's Dream
and Bolu.
And for today's story, to give more insight for these stories, we'll also be joined in the studio virtually by Omoruyi. Omoruyi is becoming a frequent face on this podcast, and I love it. Yeah. Omoruyi is the CEO of E&C Legal. Okay, let's get to the conversation immediately. Omoruyi, hi. Sorry. Please, can you say hi to our listeners? Hi. Omoruyi is waving both hands if you are listening to this on as audio. Yes, let's quickly get to this. 2 days ago, there was a directive expecting all telecommunication companies, financial institutions, Nigerian Stock Exchange, and a few other businesses to pay 0.5% cybersecurity levy as part of what is expected by the Cybersecurity Act in Nigeria. And we want to talk about the levy and touch on a few other provisions in that act that is affecting businesses. So where do we start? So I think a good place to start is talk about the levy. Yes. Then we talk about the National Cybersecurity Fund and also the act. I'm not talking to you, Chimgozi, because you're looking at him as if I want to ask you a question. Omoruyi, please, can you just fill us in on the requirements of this act, touching more on the levy that is causing a lot of brouhaha on the internet?
Okay, so here's the thing. Let's look at what does the law say. There's a Cybercrime Act. First of all, this law has been there since 2015. So it's not a 2024 legislation. The 2024 Act only just amended the 2015 Act. And this clause has even been there since 2015. So 2024 only just made a little modification because what was in the 2015 Act was just 0.005. It wasn't clear whether that was percentage or decimal. But the 2024 Act now amended that, to say 0.5% or 0.005 in decimal. And what the Act says, right, is that electronic transactions will attract a 5% cybersecurity levy from businesses. Emphasis. Transactions by businesses listed in the schedule in that act. And what does the schedule say? The schedule lists 5 businesses: GSM and telecom, stock exchange, insurance, banks and financial institutions, right? And one other entity. 5 of them, right?
The stock exchange,
yes, mentioned
banks and financial
insurance companies,
GSM,
telcos, ISP.
Yes, right? So these 5 entities are the entities that are bound by that section. That's what the Act says. Now, Also, as lawyers, one of the things we don't do is that we don't read sections in isolation. If you look further in that law, you will find that the punishments or the penalties for non-compliances refer to businesses. Do you understand me? The penalties refer to businesses.
Yeah.
Businesses that fail to comply will be fined or wound up. So that clearly puts it in purview. So let's keep that in one place. And then we go to the CBN guidance or the CBN circular that makes it appear to seem that it is a general application. Because what we take out of that conversation is that if I go to buy bread and I give my POS, we deduct 0.5% cybersecurity levy from that.
0.5%.
I do not think that that was the intent of the makers of that law. And I don't think that in any wave of interpretation, that is what that law means. So what has happened is that the CBN circular and the act are not in sync. There is a divergence. And that must be clarified. Then secondly, the guidance proceeds to give certain exemptions. So again, I will take you back to the act. The act established a cyber security advisory council made up of about 18 or so entities. CBN is only a member of that council. The act empowers the council to oversee and regulate the implementation of the provisions of the act, and not CBN. So I'm wondering if CBN really has the powers to issue the guidance they have issued. Should that not be coming from the Cybersecurity Council? Or is that guidance flowing from the instructions of the council? They will need to clarify that. But then they go ahead to make a couple of exemptions. Exemptions that are not in the Act. The Act does not make any exemption. The Act provides for all, uses the phrase all. But then they go to make exemptions. So what has happened? The CBN have, by that letter, attempted to make law. Let's even assume that
And it's
those
not as if
exemptions...
the act has been amended.
Yeah. Let's even assume that those exemptions are rightly made. The next question we'll be asking would be, what are the indices for determining what, for instance, salary payment is? What are the indices for determining loan repayment? What are the indices for determining school fees payment? I'm not sure that they have thought through these measures, because what will now happen?
That is the word. That's exactly
you now
the
say
word.
you will determine what is salary from the narrative or from the sender and the receiver. If I work in TechPoint, for instance, TechPoint can make multiple transfers to me during the month for different assignments. So which one exactly? Are we now going to look at the timing? Okay, so this one comes on the 30th, so this is salary. Does the bank really work? So you guys are the gurus in the technology space, right? Does the bank or the financial institution
Not yet, too.
No. That assumption is not welcome.
do they have the functionalities to now use the narratives in transfers to determine the authenticity of the transactions? So
these are the questions on many people's mind, and it further buttresses the point that this has not been truly
it
thought
appears
through.
to be a hasty decision, or one that was made without
Yeah.
fully contextualizing the intent of the act.
So if you looking at it now, how undercooked this particular directive looks like, looking at the cybercrime act, which of the provisions there do you think would have been easier to implement, if not this, especially to make the fund active?
No, so the Cybercrime Act goes beyond the fund. Everyone is just raising hula badu because of the deductions and the fears that come with the deductions. But really, what really is the intent of the act? When you talk about the Cybercrime Act, what are you talking about? The act is supposed, is enacted to ensure the prevention, detection, prosecution, and punishment of cybercrimes in Nigeria.
Yeah.
It is enacted to ensure the protection of critical national information infrastructure, promote cybersecurity, and protect computer systems and networks, protect data and the intellectual property rights of internet users. So it's a good law. And the intent is essential to a continued and improved digital economy. So we are in technology and innovation, right? And in this fourth industrial revolution, right, you need laws like this. Now, the Office of the National Security Advisor is the office established under law, and within its purview is cybersecurity. They've gone ahead to establish a cybersecurity advisory council. That advisory council includes all the agencies and bodies that in one way or the other would relate with issues that have to do with cybercrime. And also private sector personnel, because for instance, the Internet Society of Nigeria, the Computer Society of Nigeria, some private sector practitioners are, by that law, members of that cybersecurity advisory council. And it is the duty of the council to formulate policies and regulations to ensure the attainment of the objectives under the Act. So the levy, for instance, is a part of that Act and essentially a means of generating the necessary funds to help fight cybercrime.
Okay.
Because again, as you know, Nifemi, as an expert in technology, you
God.
know that cybercrime is expensive, right?
Yeah.
But I think that what has happened is that since 2015, when the Act was amended, certain aspects of the Act were just left in abeyance. And then our government today has woken up to now begin to look at all the loopholes for revenue generation, and they are plugging those loopholes. Because I believe that maybe previously there was a budget for cybersecurity. And then someone says, hey, wait a minute, there's an act that enables certain levies. You're not activating that. Please go collect that money from there. I don't have money to give you.
So low hanging fruit. So I think it remains to be seen how they are going to implement this. And that is what you are looking at, because a lot of things are not very clear in this, in how this is going to be enforced, how it's going to be implemented, how is actually the technology involved, because this is a technology problem, as it were. Because if you can't define what the money is from the originator to the receiver, at that point there's no how you can deduct the fee. And going by the kind of situation that exists between telcos, where some of these deductions are fulfilled after it has been done, if you want to do that with banks, it will be very difficult, because after you say, okay, maybe after the end of the month, we will now look at which money is coming from where and for what, then we now do the deduction. Many people will be owing people.
Window.
There's a reporting window.
There's a reporting window. So if you do not
report
Reconcile.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
you pay fine.
I hope they think about it again and see maybe there are other ways to put money in the fund. Thank you very much, Omori, for joining us. We understand that you need to be on another call very soon. We would have loved to have you for other stories, but thank you very much for the insights you've given. And then we are not technology experts. We are just technology journalists.
Like technology expert.
Thank you. Do enjoy the
Thank
rest
you
of
very
your
much for
day.
having me. I'll continue to put you on the spot, but I'll go on social media and I'll start calling you my tech expert.
Ah, please now. Yeah. Okay. I think Omari has mentioned what this levy is for and why it exists and why it's the lowest hanging fruit to put money in the cyber security fund. But yeah, there are other provisions in the Cybercrime Act that I want us to quickly touch on before we move on from their story. And Omoruyi mentioned some of them, which means that which includes the act has been on for almost a decade now, if not more, and this particular levy only affects businesses
Businesses, yeah.
and not even all businesses. So what other things is it that people might have been missing that might have caused the panic that this particular story caused?
I think the only person that should be blamed for any panic is the CBN, not any other person, because the wording of the circular was confusing to
Like every
almost
Nigerian.
everyone. So yes, if you people were able to point out really quickly that this is supposed to be for businesses, but for most of us who were not aware of the act before the circular went out, nobody was aware. Like, you'd have to make a reference to the act to understand that this is business. Like, it's just businesses that are being referred to. But even when you do that, you now start seeing some of the exemptions, and some of the exemptions now make you wonder, okay, how is this? Like, I don't know how many businesses pay tuition. If any of you pay tuition, please please reach out to me. But yeah, I think it's the CBN that has to be
Blame.
if we are putting blames anywhere, it's the CBN. And
So Cybercrime Act.
yeah.
What are the things that people are missing out?
Oh, there are quite a few. So one of the first things that I saw that made me laugh was if you want to operate a cyber cafe right now, you have to register with the Computer Professionals Registration Council. You remember that earlier in the year there was some chatter about IT professionals who we really do not know what qualifies as IT professionals right now, because is a graphic designer going to be an IT professional? Is the growth marketer at a startup qualifying as
like
those are
as a
different
tech
conversations.
journalist, am I
Yeah,
an
are
IT
you an IT
professional?
professional? But there was some chatter about you having to register with a society or a I don't know, like basically go and register a club in order for you to practice information technology. Still very vague what information technology means. But for this case, if you want to operate a cyber cafe, you have to register with those guys, and you also have to register with the CAC, like do a business name registration. In addition, you will maintain a register. So every person who comes through to use your facilities, you have to keep a record of them, and that record can be demanded by law enforcement. And part of the reason I think they want a register is for cyber crimes committed at cyber cafes. So there are penalties for cyber crimes committed, either aiding them or cyber crimes committed at cyber cafes.
I think that there's like the state of emergency should be put on this act to be amended. So I think when it came up, it was like at the time where more people use cyber cafes.
I mean, this is
and
an
we don't have
amended
like
act, and
it's amended.
Yeah, it's an amended act. So that's why we are seeing the levy coming up. It was amended in 2024, which, for example, we couldn't find, as at the time the CBN circular went out, we couldn't find any copy of the amended act on the internet. We couldn't find it, and fortunately, some people were able to find it, and they shared it. But before then, we couldn't find it, because then I checked on Tuesday morning, I couldn't find it anywhere. But someone was kind enough to share it. But yeah, it's been amended, but one of the things I noticed while reading through is some of the will I say circumstances around the time it was created, they've changed. Right?
Yeah.
So, for example, cyber cafes are not exactly a thing
Yeah.
right now.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few around, to be fair.
Yes,
there are a few
but
around,
not as much
they're
as
not-
people with
yeah.
mobile phones. You not carry around the internet. So
Exactly. So maybe they are trying to like cover all bases. But yeah, that particular section wasn't amended. Something else that I saw is okay. So for child pornography, which I don't know how much of a problem it is in Nigeria. So,
it should be a
but
lot.
it
'Cause I think
carries
there's
like
a
very strict fines
Mhm.
and jail terms as well. You cannot groom a minor. If you like, you can, but if you do, you shall pay a fine or go to prison.
Mhm.
There's a penalty for that. There's a penalty too for sending unsolicited. So those of you that have to send nudes,
it can be persecuted.
yes, those of you that have to send unsolicited nudes, you will be prosecuted, assuming the person reports.
Reports.
So it's actually a crime to send unsolicited nudes. Funny enough,
See,
it
that's what you
doesn't.
said.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some stories of people like, so you
Yeah.
slide into DMs, you're sliding nudes.
Yeah, I guess.
So funny thing is, it doesn't cover. What's it called? This hate porn now, like where someone records a sex tape and then puts it out or threatens to put it out on the internet. It
Okay.
doesn't.
Cover
I believe it's a cybercrime. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it
I
is.
believe it's a cybercrime. But nothing is mentioned. So yes, I guess that's something that should be included. in the should probably
Amended.
be amended again. But
What does actually change from the amendment in 2015?
it's very
to
it's actually wording.
2024?
For the most part, it's wording. It's like, so for I think section 17, they use genesis instead of genuineness in 2015. So it's basically, I don't know, they need a copy
The
editor.
spelling
Precious.
mistakes
Yeah, a lot of spelling mistakes
was
they
I
need
think
precious in their life. So I
So
don't know.
this is I'm not making a claim here. So I just thought that okay, when this came to view and we're looking like, oh, how do we fund this act? And there is a fund for it. What is the quickest thing we can do to get money into the fund? And I think why this was reviewed or amended, as the case is for the sake of the levy.
So I would not go as far. So the first thing is that I would never divorce bad faith actions from the Nigerian government. But the second thing is, I don't think that's why it was amended,
Okay.
although it could be why it was amended. So very little amendment was actually made to the section. I don't think any amendment. Yeah, if I remember correctly, no amendment was made to the section that contains the fund or that addresses the fund. I can't remember any amendment being done to
Yeah.
that. But I think the thing is, from the way the fund is set up, right? The other avenues of funding it is fines. And like I was saying before we started the podcast, I personally think the fines are not good enough. Although Omoruyi says it should be punitive but not vindictive. So I still think that, for example, fining a bank less than 10 million naira for lapses in their cybersecurity infrastructure is too small for you. Like, you could do that to a smaller company, but not to a bank that has billions of naira in annual. What is 10 million naira? To be honest, like,
So there are a lot of things to
unpack
here.
oh, sorry,
And,
there's one more, and this is the part that I need the creators of that act to probably come speak to us about, right? If so, your bank has a duty of care to put in place cybersecurity measures. However, if your account is breached or hacked, you now have the burden of proof to show that the financial institution did not do what they are supposed to do. I don't know how that's going to play out for the average person like me, who is not a cybersecurity expert. How do I know that the bank did not put like the specific guardrails in place?
okay.
I don't know
So
how.
I think that's the way it works for many products, especially maybe digital products. That is why they add terms and conditions. Wait, that's why they add terms and conditions, so you can check those between the lines to see what they're indemnifying themselves against, and where it ends on their part and where it starts on your part. So
Okay, different conversation, because my own problem is on the burden of proof. How do I prove that the bank did not do what they were supposed to do?
that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not here to defend
Because that's
anyone.
assuming I actually know what they're supposed to do.
Okay, so if you isolate the case of maybe you were, maybe your phone was stolen, right, and they had access to your bank app,
Yeah.
right, which was supposed to be maybe biometric secured or passworded, and they had access to it, right. That particular case is either there is a bug or there's something wrong with the mobile app that made them to have access to it. So in that case, if you approach your bank and you're asking questions on how were they able to access my app, right, your bank will probably say maybe it's not passworded, right,
Okay.
or something else, or you didn't protect the security of your mobile phone. That is one. So they are trying to move the body of proof to you. I'm speaking about this from experience now. You get. So if you are able to look for something the bank is supposed to do to make sure that their mobile app, for instance, is not accessible except through the owner, if you can look for something there, then you can shift the blame to the banks. But as far as the bank is concerned, for your bank app to be secured, for someone to gain access to your bank app without your presence there, that means that you've either given that person access. Maybe their fingerprint is also can also access your bank apps or whatever it is on your phone. You get. So what the reason I made that case is because if you find out very well, the bank's influence ends at a point, and you as a user, your influence ends at a point. So in that case, you might not be able to tell that exactly this is what my bank is supposed to do. But when you present a case, right, and they give you the possibility of how that is possible, how the fraud was able to happen, then you can also look at where your bank should have protected you. And then if you present that case and they say, okay, this and this is what we have done to make sure this did not happen, it has to be human error from your side, then I don't know what defense you want to put up on that. Again, I am not trying to defend banks. But I'm just mentioning a case of what happens with many products, especially digital products, and how they indemnify themselves. For people that are listening, we have a number of articles addressing this, the cyber security levy, other things that you might have missed or you do not even know exist about the Cybercrime Act on our website. Please check them out, and on techpoint.africa. You will find them there. I think we should move from there to something else that CBN was involved in the course of this week. Maybe CBN was not really the major proponent, but they are involved. So on Monday, the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC, made a directive or gave a directive that all point of sales, that is POS operators in Nigeria, or those that work with fintechs like OPay, PamPay, MoneyPoint, and the rest, that they should be registered as a business on CAC. And then CAC now gets on some of the requirements of CBN or directive of CBN for POS operators in Nigeria. And that's also caused a lot of, I won't say panic, but people were expressing their grievances about why is this coming? Why can't they just leave us alone? Why can't they just allow?
Lawyers and CAC
CAC
registration,
lawyer,
hustlers. We have.
excited.
Sorry, not hustlers, but those of
Yeah.
us that do that.
So as you would expect, this is a business opportunity for people that are playing in the field. For instance, a startup, what's the name? Nobase, that is into company incorporation.
Okay.
As a product for it, and rode on that to tell people, especially businesses, fintechs that have POS operators on their platforms to help those businesses to register. But we went to the street at some point to ask the people that are doing this business to understand what they think about this new development.
Very, very bad. Instead of me to register my POS, I'd rather throw it away.
And it seems it is not generally welcomed, especially the fact that you have to pay for this business registration. Depending on who you ask.
Okay.
Depending on who you ask, this particular registration that is being expected of these POS businesses, the price range from depending on where you're going to, who you're approaching for it,
Okay.
it ranges between 17,000 naira to about 25,000 naira.
Wow.
Now, imagine, yes, POS businesses look like a lucrative business depending on your location and how accessible you are to users because of the charges you make from the people that come to use your service. But it's not everyone that can boast of having enough profit to put into this registration. And that is one of the issues that were raised, right?
So,
Or is it not for their own? Can we say the registration is for their own benefit?
It's actually for the benefit of
so
users.
first of all, you in an ideal world,
Mhm.
you will not be running a business without
registering it.
So it's not about whether you're making enough money or whether you're not making enough money. Should you be registering your business?
Yeah.
Yes. Fortunately, it's also like just a one-time payment. I don't know. I think you have to renew after or something like that. To be honest, it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money.
Yeah, if that's been
For a
calculated
business.
into capital.
Mhm.
So the way, so I think the reason why emotions have come into this particular issue is POS business has come to become like a out for people who cannot do other businesses, or it has come as the easiest way to enter into a financial business, for instance. And because of the way agency banking has been embraced, and how fintechs have, and banks even have, like, it looks like it's not even looks like, it's a very, very profitable market, right? From reports we are getting from Money Point and PalmPay and Opay, they're not showing us,
they're just showing us how much they're making.
Exactly, and the volume and the number of agents they have. If there's nothing in that market,
so okay, it's a large market.
Yeah,
we are yet to see how profitable.
I'm probably not going to tell you except the IPO.
Exactly, margins are notoriously low, which is one. So if you go back maybe 4 or 5 years ago, price was a competitive advantage. If you could lower your commissions, you could get more agents. So naturally, that means your margins will be reduced. So I would not say it's a super profitable niche, because now you need like huge volumes for you to stay afloat, which could explain why some of them are moving away from it. But I think we should not be spending a lot of time talking about whether you should register your business, really. Yes, I understand where a lot of people are coming from. So here's the thing. I think it's a case of a good thing coming at a bad time. I don't think, first, to be fair, I actually don't think there's a wrong time to be introducing, to require businesses to get registered.
Yeah.
But the problem is, this is probably...
Maybe these people didn't consider themselves as a business.
What are you?
So,
okay, so here's also the thing, and maybe we can't always blame people for this. If you are providing a service, I think we've had this conversation in a way when we're talking about the tax obligations that the federal government was trying to impose on creatives. See, if you provide the service, you are supposed to, like, you could register a sole proprietorship, and that's just you.
Yeah,
that's one form. There are a few other categories you could register your business under doesn't make you any less a business than a Dangote, for example. The fact that you're doing maybe 500K in annual revenue doesn't make you any less of a business.
Yeah.
You're a business. So let's move on from that. If you don't have the money to register your business, I do not know what. I mean, I can't help you, right? But if you don't have the money, maybe
You could.
maybe you go borrow some money. Or
As part of your capital. So I think going forward now, getting into POS business, for instance, you will know that this is part of my capital.
Yeah.
As it's
And
the
I think it's
ideal
important
thing.
for the security bit as well.
Yeah.
It should also be, I mean, if we can now track identities, of course, with a digital device, we could know who this is registered to. But if you can now track identities because, okay, you have registered a business, yes, then it's more helpful as well. So,
or in
I
your
don't know why
store,
anybody is
if you
having an
put
issue with that.
as a user, if you get to a store, POS store, and you do not see like certificate of incorporation on the wall,
you can
don't
leave.
use them, you can leave, and that should kind of prove to you, to protect you as a user, that this person is registered. Even if they commit fraud, they can be apprehended, tracked. So, but yeah, this is both to protect the users and also the operators. And I'm hoping that if the deadline that has been given is not too short, I'm expecting as many people, as long as it is a business, as you mentioned, as long as you see it as a business, unlike some people that feel like, oh, I'm just going to abandon it. If they insist, I'm going to abandon it. Fine.
Maybe they have
other businesses. But if
soon
it's
we are
your
going to
sole
start-
business,
you soon start asking our barbers, our tailors, our hairdressers
if they have,
to register. I don't know. Well,
Who's asking them?
if
The
you've come
users.
for POS
Oh, okay.
operators, that's
Yeah,
the
they
next.
might do that. Yeah.
yeah, well, as you mentioned, it's ideal. For as long as you are rendering a service, you should have registered your business, right? Not until you are directed to do so and you have a deadline to do so, as the case is here. But yeah, we'll follow this story and see how it plays out and how people react to it. I think we should move from there to a story that I won't say we've overflogged
We have.
on this podcast, not from my mouth.
Let us be honest.
And but because we are journalists and we have to journal the progress of happiness, this is necessary for us to talk about.
Yeah.
And that is the story of Patricia, startup, the cryptocurrency.
Don't be like we
Why
talk
do
about
I feel
woman
like there
that.
should be, how you said, the story of Patricia, that there should be like music entrance. It sounds like we're about to start narrating one movie like
What
that.
happened
It's
again?
not Aladdin.
So, yes, there's been some updates. There are some new information that we've heard from sources within, without, beside, close. Several
Above.
of them, yes, about this whole Patricia stuff. So, if you remember very well, last year, May, Patricia told us, yes, Patricia announced that they got hacked and they had to pause withdrawals because of the hack. And, it's been a year now, and a lot of customers, they've not resumed withdrawals, and a lot of customers have been lamenting about, the inability to access their funds. And, we were able to speak to some of them who revealed that, they had very huge sums of money in Patricia, and it has affected them in, very different ways. And, some of them had like really painful stories to tell. So, the update basically is that some sources have said that, let me start with the differences. So one of the sources used to work on the company's cybersecurity team, and interestingly, that source said that the team was not aware of a hack when the company announced that there was a hack. So you can imagine how weird it sounds if it's like I'm the security of let's say I'm meant to secure this studio, for example. and then I'm there, I'm sitting down, and then my boss, let's say Onomena, now comes and said, guy, they've stolen all the cameras and all the laptops. And I'm like,
I didn't know
"Sir?"
about it.
I can see all the they're like, oh, there were some ones that we had somewhere that got stolen. I was here throughout. I didn't see anybody coming.
Yeah.
And I'll be looking at them like, are you?
What are you trying to cook?
Is everything okay?
What are you trying to cook?
So, which was basically what happened. And they were like, what's going on? We are seeing this in the news. And so they said, they asked questions and they were like, don't worry about it. Stuff like that. I'm like, why are you telling me what? This is my job. I'm supposed to be secure. You're telling me.
You know worry.
And then they told them that the person said, they told the team that, oh, don't worry, it's a reconciliation issue. Okay, reconciliation issue. What are we now hearing in the news and stuff like that? And then some other sources actually confirmed that they were hacks, but not at the time when it was announced, like 2 years or so before. Right, and the people were saying, even after that time, Patricia continued working. Right, nothing happened. And some few customers actually told us that they've not been able to access their money for some time, longer before the
announcement.
Yes, the announcement. Right, but what those people are saying is it has happened a long time ago, and they can't really blame the hack for why they had to pause withdrawals and why people cannot access their money. And one very, very reliable source told us that it is not because of the hack that people cannot access their money, that it is due to mismanagement, right? And, a lot of other pointers point to the fact that something is definitely wrong at Patricia. For example, I noticed that
a lot has been wrong for the better part of 2 years now.
Yeah, I'm saying before the hack was announced, right? So, for example, I noticed that C-level employees left at around the same time, which is weird. I mean, if ordinary employees, we understand, but C-level employees, 5 of them left. 3 left like
at the same time,
same month in 2023.
Like direct competitors.
Yes. So 1 left December 2022. So you see that it was very close. It was as if
there's an
abandon. Yeah, it's like when all the captains
something
in the ship,
is happening internally.
All the people that are driving the ship, right? All of them decide to leave the captain. It looks like something is definitely wrong, which means that Patricia is not is not telling the users enough the full story. So those are some of the updates, and it's interesting that some people are actually coming out to actually say, okay, a lot of things are wrong. A lot of things were said that cannot say that we can, because the gravity of those things are very high, that we cannot just rely on what people say we actually need. So which is what we are working hard to get at this point. But very, very heavy accusations were made
against the CEO.
Against the company itself. We also heard that, the company was told that, there's something wrong with you. I think a security consulting firm also said, there's something wrong with your security, right? You need to act fast. And, those things were not acted upon until later on. Things like the company didn't have a board for a while, despite the fact that they made so much money and things like that. And, there were also accusations against the CEO that he was the only one that could access funds, like that could move funds within the company.
He had a CFO.
Yes. So this CFO was almost like a figurehead, because what am I doing there when you can basically do and undo with, the money in the company? There were also things that were said that the way funds were used were kind of lavish, not even kind of, say it was lavish. So all these things, make you feel, as a customer, it makes you feel betrayed, and also knowing the fact that nothing really, you just didn't keep my money well.
Yeah. So this is another time where I think a time where we discuss issues like this in the studio. There's none of those times that we do not have to touch on corporate governance, right? And
due time.
Yes.
It's unfortunate because
important.
While users are a very important stakeholders in startups, right? It is before users start making use of a product, to be able to find out how disciplined they are about their corporate governance. You might not be able to, as a user. You might not be able to until situations like this happen and you start questioning it.
Yeah.
Right. Even though users are very important, critical stakeholders in the company. So I think this is a call out to founders, to business
law
owners,
enforcement.
law enforcement.
Yes,
What they carry everybody.
they
So,
should look into things like that.
I think this is so. Two things I would say for customers here. Like you mentioned, it's a bit difficult for you to know that you really can't know
Yeah.
that someone is going to
Carry
run
your
the
money
streets.
around.
You just can't know. Except, I mean, if you have those powers, that's cool.
Which powers?
Don't worry, you would. That's but yeah, if you can, like, if there's a way you can just magically know that someone will run you streets, kudos. But I think first thing you should probably do, once it's a financial institution, check whether they are regulated by the CBN. Of course, this means that there are some investments you will not make, right? Usually,
how do you get if they are regulated? Is their licenses?
Yeah. Okay. So a lot of them, so very serious companies are going to be brandishing licensed or regulated by the CBN or SEC on their websites. I think if you even have it when you're about to open the app, right? Because you won't see that information in app, but a lot of them put it very close, so if you just scroll to the footer of the website, you would see that.
Until something protected.
For the ones that don't have it, if they are playing in spaces that are already regulated by the CBN, you can always check the CBN website. So, for example, Kuda is not. I mean, there's no specific regulation for neobanks in Nigeria, but Kuda is a microfinance bank, and they are regulated.
Yeah.
Am I doing ad for them?
But go on.
Scratch
You're
that.
making an
an
instance.
Yeah. So if you go to the CBN's website, they have a list of all regulated financial institutions. I think there was a new circular 2 days ago that contains an updated list, so you can go check it out. So if someone tells you are regulated by the CBN and you go to the CBN website, you don't see it, please, you're better off believing the CBN than believing some random tech guy.
Yeah.
So that's it. CBN, SEC, just to cover your bases. It just means that crypto startups are not exactly supported or regulated, which means your crypto investments are like, you really are not that protected, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't really
Coming
be
from
too careful.
somebody that does it a
That's
lot.
now. So
he knows
you're not really that
a lot
protected.
of risks.
It
Yeah.
is.
I mean, apart from the volatility, the fact that they are not like regulated. Second thing I'll say is that this probably speaks to like the role that regulators are supposed to play. If we had gotten past this, do crypto today, don't do crypto today, ban, unban.
Recently, another news this week was Nigeria saying they should remove P2P trading from their platforms, crypto exchange platforms.
So if we had some clarity around regulation, right, we would know that this guy should operate in X way or should not operate in X way.
Yeah.
So this is why regulations are very important, because I've been saying jail time. I'm not joking, right? If you're regulated, CBN, they will just pick you up. They don't need to stress too much. If you misbehave, go and ask the banks that their directors have used customer funds to play ajo, to do whatever. They will carry you. You'll be doing your explanation and be doing your hack explanation from prison. So if we had clarity on regulation, some of these things will be reduced. And really, I don't know what regulators want to do, but we need to stop playing these funny games. If you are serious about your job, figure out how to understand what these guys are doing. There's a reason we have regulatory sandboxes. Even if it means packing all the crypto startups or blockchain startups and throw them inside a sandbox for the next 2 years, do it. But at least you know that while they're in that sandbox, you are
able to know what they are doing, what they are.
You need to even tap
they are breaking.
ex-crypto guys or ex-blockchain guys to come and advise or work with you. Because one of the things is you don't exactly understand what they are doing. So can you create, unfortunately, we have a committee, like we are cursed with setting up committees in this country, and I'm about to add to it. But can you set up a small 5-man panel? I'm sorry, Nigerians, that I have to disappoint you, but can the SEC, for example, because I think this falls under their remit, can the SEC set up a small panel of crypto experts, blockchain experts that help them navigate this? Because it's getting silly to be doing this dance in public.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, come on, have some
So
shame.
Customers are not feeling protected, and it is on the regulator side to make sure that they are. And that is what we'll be ending today's podcast with. We've discussed from the highs to the lows, and we like
Was
to.
there any high?
Was there any high?
Yeah.
Was there any high?
Was
Well,
there?
the
let the
Cybercrime
audience
Act.
decide.
Eh?
Yes, if you think there was a high, you can point it out. The
Okay.
silver lining. Point it
You
out
see-
in the comment section wherever you are.
Yeah, silver lining, right? At least if you did not know about the Cybercrime Act, you know about it now. So that's
Oh,
a win
okay.
for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So please, we'd like to get your feedback. What do you think about the podcast? What you think we can do better, stories you would like us to cover and talk about. And by the way, we have a lot of stories on the TechPoint Africa website, techpoint.africa. You can go there and keep up with all tech happenings in Africa. Please, if you're listening to this on Spotify, don't forget to drop us a review. We would so much love that. And if you're also catching us on any of our social media platforms, or if you're done listening to it here, you can go to any of our social media platforms, TechPoint Africa, and drop us a comment on any of our snippets, and share, and also tell people about TechPoint Africa podcast. You don't want to stop seeing us or hearing from us, or do you? Do you?
You did threaten your listeners. You have my hand.
No, I'm not threatening you. I'm just saying, like, we would love to hear from you. It's been a while, but yeah, we will see us here next week by God's grace. By God's grace. But we have our newsletters we like to talk about. We have the TechPoint Digest, Equity Merchant, Modern Workplace newsletters. All these newsletters are focused on different industries, while the TechPoint African TechPoint Digest focuses on everything that is going on in the African tech space. This Friday, I mean tomorrow, is Pitch Friday again.
It's
right?
come true for your boy.
It's a country for your boy. That Shingozi speaking is the convener. So please keep in mind, it's Odin at Zone Tech Park in Bagada. You can show your face. What did I just say?
Yeah. Your face.
Yeah, you can show your
Friday.
face and come. If you've not been there before, you can come and give yourself a benefit of doubt. I'm sure you will not regret to be there. It's a good networking time every month where people in the Nigerian tech space or Lagos tech ecosystem come together to come and network and listen to pitches and also learn. What are we talking about tomorrow?
How to build a tech startup with when you don't have tech skills.
When you don't have tech skills.
That's very
Right, all
important.
of you having ideas in your head and you're thinking, I need a CTO, and the CTO will buy you and all. Come and listen to somebody that has been there. That is Toby Odukoya, the CEO of CDK. Come and listen to him, how he navigated it, and he's running a successful business now. We'd love to have you. Say hi if you see any one of us there. We'll say hi back, hopefully. Thank you once again for joining us. Catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.